is one of the two Republican candidates running for 13th congressional district here in North Texas, a district that is bigger than some states. It is a massive territory.
One of the final two left out of the Royal Rumble or the Battle Royale or whatever it was called.
So the runoff election got pushed back to July 14 because of the China virus thing. And excuse me, COVID-19, whatever. But the whole thing got pushed. Yeah, the Wuhan flu, whatever. It got pushed back to the 14th of July. This was supposed to happen May the 26th. But anyway, so you've had a little more time to campaign. Has that been a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, it's been great for me. I mean, every day that I have to get my story out there is more votes that I'm going to get when the 14th of July rolls around. I'm getting new voters that didn't even vote, in the primary that are going to vote in this runoff election, and I'm taking votes away from my opponent every day.
Yeah. You spent 14 years, right, as the White House physician.
That's right.
For those of you that may not have heard the story yet, 14 years as White House physician, first under George W. Bush, then Barack Obama, and finally Donald J. Trump. And so how in the world did you decide, what made you decide to jump into the political fray? Because your job as White House physician, very non-political position, I would imagine.
Right.
You're the White House physician. Doesn't matter who's in the White House, you're treating the guy that's the commander-in-chief. Then you get into politics. I mean, this is a big leap for you here. I'm not sure if is this a leap forward or backward, or was it a lateral move? I don't know. What would you call it in military terms?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a forward move or a backwards move. We'll wait and see. That's kind of TBD. But I got into this because I'm legitimately worried about what's going on in our country right now. I mean, I'll tell you what. I tell people it sounds cliche, but I'm worried about my kids and my grandkids. That's what got me into this race. And now I see the stuff that's going on in our country right now. I'm even more concerned and more worried about where we're headed in this country. So I decided that my service to my country wasn't over yet. I did 4 years in the reserves and 25 years on active duty, so almost 30 years in the military.
Yeah.
And, my entire adult life has been, service to my country in that regard. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to get back in there. I've got a unique opportunity to get in and make a big difference. If I get into this, if I get this seat because of my relationship with President Trump, I can really make a difference for this district and really do something good for our country. And I feel like I have an obligation to do it.
You retired from the Navy as a Rear Admiral.
That's right.
And then your time as a White House physician, you obviously have you've seen a lot of the world.
I have 120 countries.
Yeah. And you've seen a lot of the United States. We were talking during the break, and you mentioned that in your 14 years, like 5 years of your life was spent traveling.
Yes, that's right.
As White House physician.
Yeah, there are times where there were a few years there where I was traveling. I was gone 220 days out of the year. I mean, that's insane, right? But
and you're you're becoming more and more of a rare commodity in that you've got a military background, retired military officer. And now going into politics, more and more of our politicians are career lawyers or business people, but not military.
Right.
We don't. I mean, there was a time when virtually everyone in Congress had a military background.
Look at the presidency.
Yeah.
There were. I mean, not were just had been in the military. Oh, by the way, but had been leaders in the military. Your Jacksons and your Eisenhowers and that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Truly. So it's becoming more and more rare, it seems, to have someone with a military background serving in public office and in Congress this way. How does that benefit you the most, you think?
Well, I think
in terms of being a leader.
I think it's all leadership. When you're in the military, I tell folks I was on active duty for 25 years, and that's 25 years of leadership school. That's what that is. It doesn't matter what your rank is. Every day in the military, you're expected to look for opportunities to become a better leader, and they push you to do that. So I think we get more military folks in Congress. They have strong work ethic. They're good leaders. They're decision makers. They're not going to be on the fence. They stick to what they believe, and I just think that we need that kind of decisive leadership. And they're patriots. They care about our country, and they want to be Americans. And we got members in Congress right now that do not even want to be American. We look at AOC and Omar and people like that. We've got to get people like that out of our Congress and get people in that care about us as Americans.
I just can't imagine. And if someone, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have even thought this would be a possibility. But we now have people not just in our country, not just citizens, not just people, but people in elected office who openly embrace concepts of socialism and communism.
Right.
Openly embrace it. and talk about it like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, Bernie's been doing it for a long time, but now there's a whole lot more than just
There's
Bernie.
a whole lot. Yeah,
it was just crazy Bernie out of Vermont.
Yeah.
But now it's a lot more than that.
There's a lot more than that. And it's, to me, it's insulting, it's revolting, it's repugnant that we have people in elected office that are basically promoting and pushing for socialist policies and even communist policies in our country, when just 3 decades ago it was the scourge of the earth around here. There's no way you would. There's been an American Communist Party for decades, but now they have fully infiltrated the Democratic Party.
Well, you know how that happened, Mike. We let our education system brainwash an entire generation of our youth. That's what's happened. I mean, they start in primary with primary education now, but our education system, especially our university system, has brainwashed an entire generation of youth to believe in those concepts, to believe that socialism and communism is a good thing, and to believe that this is a bad place to live.
Oh yeah. I had a couple.
Everybody's breaking their guts to get here. I mean, everybody's breaking the doors down.
Yes.
Even illegally to get to America, because it's a horrible place to live and because you're so oppressed here.
I mean, all those kids that think that go out there and preach this is a horrible place to live, they've never lived anywhere but here, right? They don't know. They're just, And like I said, I've traveled 120 different countries. I can tell you firsthand, no better place in the world to live than right here in the United States.
Well, my wife's an immigrant, and my wife immigrated to America on purpose, legally, by the way,
Yeah.
and she became an American citizen. She's proud to be an American citizen, and illegal immigration really makes her angry.
Yep.
Because it cost her about $10,000 and a whole bunch of time, several years to go through the process and to bring her 2 children here and that sort of thing. But she did it, and
it costs all of us money. I mean, they fall in on all of our taxpayer resources. They use our educational system, our healthcare system, our roads, our highways, all that money that we dump into, making, our country, a great place to live. Those folks are consuming those resources, and they didn't pay into that.
Well, there's a lot going on right now in our country, and one of the issues that I still think is critical, but it's taken a back seat to so many other things right now, and that's illegal immigration.
Right.
And border security.
Yep.
Which you can't get the illegal immigration part of it under control until you get the border security part of it under control.
That's right.
And we have not done a great job in that. We taught, President Trump ran on a promise in 2016 of we're going to build a border wall, and all of that's kind of got shoved to the back burner now. We've built some wall, but not nearly enough.
Right.
We still got a lot of work to do. And we don't really seem to have anyone in Congress that's jumping up and down, hooping and hollering with any level of excitement or, any sense of urgency about fixing the border situation. But you've been very vocal about it.
I have. I've been down there the last 2 years. I was with I was President Trump's one of his senior advisors. Last year and a half, and I was his personal physician part of that. So I was with him every day for 3 years. The first 3 years of his administration. The last 2 years, he sent me to the border 4 or 5 times. I think 5 times. I went to San Diego and to the Rio Grande Valley. I got tours of that border from top to bottom, up and down the border in helicopters and vehicles. I met with Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, ICE, HHS, everybody involved there. And I can tell you, I know what the issues are. Every single person, to a person, will tell you that they need that wall there. Those folks that are on that wall, that are on that border, they don't have the resources to patrol that whole border. They got to rely on that wall to get people to come to certain areas so that they can police those areas and stop the drugs and the human trafficking and the cartels and the gang members that are crossing our border. Right. But we're in trouble. And I'll tell you one other thing too, Mike, is that most of what's happened, the president's done a lot of great things on the border, great things, right? At the beginning of the Trump administration, we were working on the Obama era, immigration stuff. It was a disaster. It was just open season, open border, and anybody wanted to come across could come across and just disappear into our country. But the president stopped that, but he's done a lot of it with executive order, not with legislation. We've got to get good, strong members of Congress in there. They're going to have our president's back, that are going to pass some laws and put this stuff legislate this stuff.
That's why we've got to hold on to the Senate. We've got to make sure that if we can, possibly get control of the House of Representatives and keep the White House.
We've got to do something with it. The problem was the first year, a couple of years, or first year of Trump administration, the Republicans did have control of both parties,
right?
And did not were effective, but were not as effective as they should have been. Now we can argue why. I think poor leadership in the House of Representatives is a big part of it.
Big part.
But the fact of the matter is, the American public did give us that, and it didn't happen. Well, and so that's we have to overcome that.
I got to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll continue with Dr. Ronny Jackson's our guest. He is one of the 2 Republican candidates for 13th Congressional District, and I want to ask you if Republicans can get a majority again. How can we not waste it?
Right.
What's the best possible next move once that majority is back in Republican hands? We'll talk about that coming up next year on Wake Up Call from the Pro Siding and Windows Studios.
How many of you think that